Now, our guest today first joined us back in 2023.
Culturally, things have just gotten worse, and we're being painted as the people who you should be looking out for, when really we're all being affected by misogyny and violence against women.
We are,
so
absolutely.
It's really important. So it's really important that all women stand together and that, you know, I fight for your causes, you fight for mine, because if we're divided, then it just keeps happening.
Now, to mark the start of Pride Month, Munroe Bergdorf joins us again today to talk about her new book, and with one very important message. She says, don't shy away from tricky conversations. Hopefully we don't on this show. Please welcome Munroe Bergdorf. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
I just said there in the intro, Munroe, hopefully we like to feel that we don't shy away from tricky conversations.
I'm here.
But I think people now maybe shy away, not because they don't particularly want the conversation, they don't know how to, or they're worried about saying the wrong thing and being cancelled. We know we are in a cancel culture now.
We are, and there's so much noise and culture wars. It's really difficult to know where to start, and we don't really want to hurt each other, but we're scared of doing that. So I think it's really important that we prioritise connection rather than perfection. And I wrote Talk to Me because of that. There's so much noise, and it's cutting through that. It's having a pathway so you don't feel like you're grasping at straws when it's really often just a human connection. We're all human beings, but when we're speaking about, you know, the small boats, we're speaking about the transgender ideology, we're speaking about all of these things that's taken the humanity out of the conversation, let's put that back and just connect to each other like people.
Do you think since you've been... so you're on in 2023.
Yes.
Do you think it's got better or worse?
Oh, it's got much, much worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, much worse. I mean, misogyny has gotten worse across the board, and really what's happening to trans people is rooted in misogyny. When you look at the Supreme Court ruling that's just happened against the trans community in taking trans people out of the Equality Act, it's put us in a very vulnerable position where this is going to affect us in the workplace, it's going to affect us in, you know, going to museums, shops, cinemas, just participating in public life. So you know, if you're trans and watching this, I want to send my love to you because it's a really scary time, especially young trans people. I grew up in Section 28 where we couldn't talk about being gay.
We'll come on to the book in more detail, obviously, but you mentioned there, I'm interested to know when you were growing up, how you felt. You came from a kind of quite middle-class area, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was really middle-class. I came from a town called Stansted Mount Fitchett. So if you
I love the name of it.
I know, it had like a windmill. It was beautiful.
Oh, well, when there's a windmill.
It was actually off of our old garden. Yeah, it was very middle-class, but it wasn't, you know, indicative of the real world. You know, the vast majority of people live in cities and it's diverse and there's so many different ways to be human. So I wanted to write this book on my experience growing up in Stansted where we couldn't talk about those things.
It was how did you feel isolated?
I did. It was a no-no to talk about racism. It was a no-no to talk about sexuality.
And was that in your home as well as just generally?
Well, it was in my home, but I also grew up during Section 28. So the government had a piece of legislation that said that you couldn't promote homosexuality in schools. So you couldn't talk about homophobic bullying because homophobia was the norm. And now we're in the position where you can't talk about gender identity in schools, and there's trans kids who are sat in schools scared.
Did you have conversations with your parents?
Yeah, my mum's white and my dad's black. So I always knew that racism was a thing and that it was a difficult world out there. And I did. It's just, you know, when you're in school and there's no talk about race or other backgrounds in the syllabus, it was a very difficult place to kind of, like, know why am I being treated differently, both at school and in, you know...
I can imagine how lonely that must have felt. So
it was,
if there's nowhere that you can even discuss yourself and all those confusions that any child and teenager has.
Yeah.
And was that really painful to revisit that in the book, to have to go
Yeah, I think I revisited most of it in my first book, Transitional. And then, so that was really talking about the experiences. And this is like, how can we solve this problem? How can we all feel less isolated and more just like people? We're talking to each other like politicians, where everything's a debate, it's all a competition, and it's not
Where can
really...
we throw the red meat for someone to get angry with?
It's not about finding a solution. Two things can be true at once, and the answer's often in the grey area. It's not in being right all the time. I think there's a power in accepting when you're wrong. I've been wrong many times, and I'd love to go back and do things differently sometimes. But like, there's a power and in not being perfect, in just kind of being like, OK, right, I'm human, and it's OK, I messed up.
Yeah, do you think people have lost their voice a little bit? You know, you're saying that in a way we can all be activists. I mean, you are a very well-known, very well-experienced activist. You describe yourself. Can we all be a bit of an activist if we use our voice?
In the book, I describe activism as a machine, and it really takes all of us. Society involves us all. And we're in this position where we're pitted against each other. It's you or me, it's this or that, it's black or white. And we all need to find a way to live together. Trans people aren't going anywhere, black people aren't going anywhere, Jewish people aren't going anywhere, white people aren't going anywhere. We need to live together. So I think it's really about like the pathway to that, and not thinking, you know, I'm not going to discuss anything because I'm scared. We're all scared. There's a scary world out there, but in talking to each other... And
also, I think people think they can't make a difference, but actually, activism is a very... I've come to it late in life, in my 60s, and I wish
I'm envious. For all of your activism as well. It's incredible.
I'm envious of you doing that earlier, in a way, because I think people don't understand that the power of people speaking together and making change. And we often talk here, don't we, about where did all this division come in between trans people and, you know, we didn't... Why are we being forced into a position of hate?
When it's coming from the government and when it's coming from a lot of the media, people think that we take our cues from authority. But, I hope that we see...
But I do think, in people's defence, like you said at the beginning, when you do want to talk about it, or somebody who doesn't understand it, that wants to understand it, or somebody who's got an opinion about it, because of the language that you're allowed to use and not use, it makes you scared to ask the wrong questions. And so that's the thing. You know, you're saying we should be all open and we should... But, you know, I've said things in the past... And I thought it was a massive compliment to someone who literally bit my head off and said, that's really insulting. And I was like... I don't know what's a compliment anymore and what isn't, so then you get scared.
It's not being afraid to be corrected, though, and if you say something wrong or, you know, like misspeak, it's not being too afraid, but I didn't know. And I think we all want to know everything all the time. We feel like bad people if we don't know, but it doesn't mean that we're a bad person. It just means we're human beings.
I love to ask questions.
You have to feel in a safe space with someone to, you know, to do that. I mean, we were sort of talking earlier and saying, as you know, I've got several trans friends, but nearly everybody that I know has never actually had a conversation with a trans person. Everything is taken from some of the vile social media sites. And sometimes you think, well, if that's all I was seeing, I can understand some of the viewpoints.
But we've been through this road before as well, whether or not it was immigration with Windrush back in the day, and people having never met a black person before believed all of these things about black people. So, you know, make trans friends, make gay friends, make friends with people who are different to you.
Listen, you make a difference all the time. Every time you come on a show like this, you write your books. How to Talk About the Things That Matter. Talk to Me by Munroe Bergdorf is out right now. It's a great title. Come and talk to us anytime. We love to have you on the show. Thank you very much. It's out on Thursday, sorry.